first task is based on web scraping. Let's just look into the libraries which are popularly used for web scraping. I mean, like, let's first have an idea of what is web scraping, and then what are all the tools that are used in Python in order to achieve it. Okay. So web scraping, okay, as it is mentioned in the presentation here, some of the libraries used are like Autoscraper, Request, Beautiful Soup 4, LXML, and Selenium. Other than this, there are other libraries too, but most popularly used are these libraries. So I hope everyone must be having an idea as to what is web scraping. So it is nothing but a method to scrape the data from website or the internet and store it either locally in your machine or into your system. Okay, so that is web scraping. Um, yeah. So web scraping can help you to extract all formats of data, whether it is structured or unstructured data. But we have to further analyze and filter it, and then analyze and format into a give it into a structured format. So and this scrape data can be exported either in the form of a spreadsheet or an API format. So this web scraping actually can be done both manually and in an automated way. But when it comes to large volumes and large sets of data, we prefer automated methods of web scraping. And automated scraping is nothing but the usage of bots in order to speed up your process and scrape the data at a faster rate and at a cost efficient method. And it is also done in such a way that once when you write the code, it can be repeatedly used for how many ever times you want in order to scrape your data. So that is about an introduction to web scraping. So first, let's look into Autoscraper library. So Autoscraper is one of the libraries available in Python used for web scraping purpose, and it is actually very fast and easy to use. And here you have to just provide the URL or the HTML content of the web page where you want to scrape the data from, and the information can be either in text or URL or HTML label format. So first and foremost, before entering into this library portion of it, we have to first check whether the particular library is installed in our system. So in order to do that, we can follow the given methods which are present here. So the most popularly used installation method is pip install method. So if you're using Windows, then you can just directly go for pip install Autoscraper. Whereas if you're using Mac or Linux, then you can go for pip3 install Autoscraper. And then you're good to go with your scraping work. And then once this is done in your command control window, next, in whichever Python interpreter that you're using, whether it can be a VS Code or PyCharm or Jupyter Notebook, any Python interpreter that you're using, you can just write there like from Autoscraper, import Autoscraper. So this is the main function which we'll be using for our scraping purpose. So I have just given a small example of how the web scraper, the Autoscraper library works. This is just a simple example of a particular website and the usage of Autoscraper library. So first you have to mention the URL which has to be scraped. So that is defined in a variable called URL, and we are giving the website here. And then we are creating another list called wanted list. So this is the a portion where you are going to establish the list of items that you are going to want from that particular website, whether it can be the number of images present in the website or the star ratings that are present. For example, if it is an e-commerce website, then if you want the price of the particular product, then you can give it in a list format here. You can just mention the names of the items that you want from that particular website. You can just create a wanted list from one particular product, and then you can automate the process for all the objects that are present in the elements that are present in the website. So that is the importance of creating a wanted list in autoscraper function. And as it is mentioned here, it is a list that is a sample data that we want to scrape from that page. So sample data in the sense you are just training the code, the system to scrape whatever information you want from that particular website. So next step is going to be initiation of the autoscraper function. So we are just creating an object called scraper, and then we are establishing or initiating the autoscraper function here. So we are calling the autoscraper function, and it is mainly used to build the scraper model and perform the web scraping on that particular page itself. So that is the main function of initiating this function. Next one is building of the object. So once we have initiated the autoscraper function, and we are building an object called scraper here, and then we are creating another variable called result, where we are just building the URL and the wanted list of that particular web page that which we want to scrape up, and then we are printing the result here. So your end result, I mean your output will be in this format. So if this is the title of that, I hope it is clearly, I mean it is at least visible for you guys. So here we have only given the title of the product to be scraped. So we are getting an entire list of all the titles that are present in the URL that is mentioned here. So from the URL, you're just going to extract the wanted list. So all the titles that are present in the web page are going to be extracted and given as output in a list format. And then you're going to save the model in order to use it for your future use. That is whichever URL that you're going to pass through here, it is going to extract the data and throw you the output in a similar format. So, in order to save the model, you're going to use a dot save function and then dot load function to load the model later. So this is about autoscraper library. Okay, next one is going to be Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is also one of the most widely used library for web scraping, and Beautiful Soup actually helps you to create a soup object, and it helps you to parse the data through the HTML content of the web page. So that is the importance of using Beautiful Soup. So before working with Beautiful Soup, again you first have to do the installation process, which involves like pip install Beautiful Soup 4 in your command line prompt, and then you're going to load it into your Python interpreter as from VS4 import Beautiful Soup, and then you're going to work with it. So some of the steps involved in web scraping when using Beautiful Soup 4 is that you first, the main steps are mentioned here before using Beautiful Soup. So first one is to find the URL of the web page that you want to scrape. Next is to select the particular elements by inspecting the page. That is from the HTML content of the page. Whichever data that you want to scrape, you're going to inspect those elements. Third one is you're going to write the code to get the content of the selected elements. Next one is going to be you're going to store the data in a required format. And a Beautiful Soup is actually used for getting is actually used to scrape data out of HTML, XML, and other markup languages. So this is another example of Beautiful Soup, using Beautiful Soup library. So whenever we use Beautiful Soup, we will also be using the request library along with it, because request library helps you to get the HTML content of the web page, whereas Beautiful Soup helps you to pass through these contents of the web page, which cannot be done without, I mean, Beautiful Soup and request go hand in hand. You have to be using both the libraries in order to scrape the web page. So once pip install is done for Beautiful Soup, then what we're doing, we're just importing request and VS4. Pandas is also used, but this is for data analysis purpose. But when it comes to auto scraping, just focus on these two. and then you're giving a base URL here. And then you're going to create an empty list here. Then you're going to define a scraper function here for iterating all the elements that are present in the web page, and to scrape the data accordingly. So okay, 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, when I'm sharing, please do not mark anything here. I was able to find someone marking lines here. Okay, so we are just creating a scraper function here, and then we are automating the pages. I mean, iterating the pages, and we're setting a limit, like how many ever pages that you want to scrape. You're just setting the limit here, and then as per your requirement for scraping the data. That is whether you want to scrape the review pages of that review ratings of that particular web page, or the price of it, or whatever you want. You're just going to mention. So that portion here within the function, whatever is your requirement, you're going to change the parameters here, and then you're going to scrape. But otherwise, you're going to mention the base URL here. I mean the URL here, and then you're going to give a response, which is equal to request.get of URL. So this will help you to fetch the data from the given URL. That is the HTML content from the given URL. And then you're going to create a soup object here, which will help you to parse through the HTML content of the web page. So this is the format for soup object. I will also share with you all the documentation for all the libraries that we are discussing here, so that you can go through it later and find all the other functions that are present in it. So before starting with any of your project, it is better to go through the documentation and then start with your project, so that you will have a clear understanding of what you're doing. And then yeah, we are just iterating all these things here, and then we are establishing the scraper function here, which will help you to get the URL. There is another example also, which is posted here in the second column. So you're just importing request. Okay, this is an example of how the request will work. So when you import request library, and then when you're mentioning the URL, when you're giving data is equal to request.get. So this request will help you to get the URL and post the URL. It has two function, get and post, but most prominently we'll be using only get function in order to get the HTML contents of the URL which we are giving here. And then when you're printing the data, the text of that particular data, it will throw you all the HTML contents of the page in text format. So this is another example of using a request and beautiful soup, where you're using a request from a request library, and then you're creating an empty list, and then you're creating a soup object here, which is called HTML, and then you're parsing through the data, and from the data, whichever tag that you want. For example, if it's going to be the title tag, or any class name that you want. So when I share the documentation of each and every library, it will be clearly mentioned in the library, like according to your requirement, whether you want the class data, or any particular tag data, or any H1 data. So the tag names differ. So how to which element to pass through it, and how to extract the data from it. And then the other steps are like iterating of the process to get the particular title or text or whatever you want. How many ever times you iter, you're going to get the data for it. So that is about a beautiful soup code. The next one is going to be selenium. So selenium, I hope everyone must have an understanding of it. So selenium is popularly used for automation testing. But however, it was initially created for data scraping, but it had a lot of scope to be worked only in testing this method. But now people have again started to use selenium. But the only drawback of using selenium is that, I mean, it is helpful in scraping JavaScript pages, but then it is very slow in process, and it is very time consuming also. So that is why people don't go for selenium very often. But otherwise, it is a good library for scraping. So it is, and selenium generally uses a WebDriver object in order to scrape the data. So the browser can be run either locally or remotely, and it is still used as a general browser automation platform. So Selenium also has to be installed early. So for that, we go for pip install Selenium, and when using Anaconda, we go for Conda install Conda Food Selenium in Anaconda prompt window. You just give this command line, and then you're going to run it. And side by side, once the Selenium is installed, we have to download the web clone driver also in order to scrape the data. So that is done by following these links. So you just have to check with, if you're directly using Chrome as your default browser, then you have to check the version of it and then match with the Chrome driver, and then use Selenium for your automation, sorry, scraping purpose. So when using Selenium, you will have to find the elements of the page by following these methods, like either by name or XPath or link text or tag name, class name, etc. So this is also present in the documentation. You can go through it. Okay, this let's have a look at one simple example of using Selenium and WebDriver. So first and foremost, we will have to import the libraries. So importing Selenium, and then from Selenium import WebDriver. And for this project, we are importing other such libraries also. So they are importing IO request, and then from WebDriver underscore manager.com import from driver manager, because they are going to extract data only from Google Chrome. So they are importing whatever functions that are present in that particular library. And then from selenium.com and exceptions import element click intercepted exception. So step 2 is going to install the driver. So driver is equal to webdriver.com. So we're going to establish a driver object here, and you're going to use webdriver.com. And the third step is going to be like specify which URL you're going to scrape. So in this example, they're going to use Google Images in order to scrape the data, and they want to get the images of cars that are present in Google Images. So they are using this function of driver object like .get. All these functions and methods that are present for each and every library will be mentioned in the documentation, and it differs from project to project. Like as if auto scraping, web scraping is your project, and whichever data you want to scrape, so according to that, based on that only, you're going to select the functions or the methods that are present in the library. So if it is present for this particular project, then it is very unique to this particular project. So it might differ from project to project. So that is the reason why I will suggest you to go through the documentation first, understand the nature of your website, understand the elements that you want to state, and then go for writing the code for it. So this is again like the other functions that are present in driver object, like execute script and find elements by XPath. So find elements by XPath is that if you want to scrape the image of a particular object, then you have to mention the tag names or the image class names which are given in your source page content, and you're going to paste it here, and you're going to automate you're going to train the machine to scrape all the images which are related to that. And the sixth step is going to be like extract the corresponding link of each image. So in this project, they want about the image and the image link of each object. So for that, they are again writing another code here. They're using the try except method in order to do this, and they're finding the elements by CSS selector in order to find the image link. So seventh step is going to be like download and save each image in a destination directory. So it can either be a data set or a database or any list or whichever format you want to save the data. So for that, again, they are mentioning the data set link here, and then they are iterating the object for each and every URLs that are present in the website. So this is about so this is about web scraping libraries. And 1 minute.